Okay, this is my, I got tagged by Saradreaming, and I'm going to show you my two favorite bushcraft knives in a minute here. I just want to say hi to Ben here. Okay, now before I go over, I just want to show you this was not an easy thing to do here, so I just took every knife I own here and laid them all out for you here. And you can see why in a minute here, why it's so difficult to figure out. It's my favorite. I have assorted sheath knives, dive knife, K-bar, nice Norwegian knives here, some stainless steel, some carbon steel, sheath knives, sorted moras. The blues are always stainless steel, and the red, anything with the red is carbon steel. Assorted, this is my nice more carving knife, which is extremely a very good tool, very good, very sharp. Got my assorted homemade sheaths out of rawhide. These ones in particular I just wrapped around and dried. There's no sewing involved, and they're actually very good sheaths here. They just pop right off. Very simple. Here is a knife you don't see too often. This is a Mora fishing knife here, actually. So it's a Mora knife. It's stainless steel, extremely sharp, long blade. Comes in a nice leather sheath. And then back here I got some more sheath knives. I got my this is not. It looks like a Gerber combination, but it's a no-name brand. But it's a good axe and knife. It comes in a sheath together. It's a nice little axe. Some more sheath knives. This is a pen, actually a fishing knife, stainless steel. It holds a decent edge, but again it's got these little serrations at the top, which I hate on any knife. Here's my Hult 4s. It's a good solid carving knife, whatnot. Here's a cheap sheath knife, plastic handle, another Mora. Here's a Mora. I don't know the model of it, but this comes without a finger guard, which is a good knife, and the sheath is the knife can go in either way. Doesn't matter. My standard Mora. This is a real. This knife I'll never use because it's sentimental values, but it's hand beadwork, and it's a real antler. It's a good knife, but it's just not to be taken in the woods. And coming back here, I got some more sheath knives, a little fillet knife. Here's a knife that's it's actually it's like a cheap imitation of a Gerber. It's a nice little. It's okay sharp. It's very hard to keep an edge. Some assorted folding knives. Again, these with these little serrations, you couldn't have them. I hate them. They're useless. Nice little, just make a good little knife, neck knife. It's very sharp. It holds a good edge. Here's a knife that it's good for when you're camping. It's more of a, it holds a decent edge. You can carve a feather stick with it, but it's not something that's just stainless steel. It's got the knife and the spoon. This is a good all around folding buck knife. It's a carbon steel blade. It's a lock back, and it's okay, it's not the best. And I got my assorted Swiss Army knives. This has 2 blades, toothpick, tweezers, no saw, and this one has the 2 blades and a saw and scissors and tweezers and screwdrivers and everything. Here's a nice little handy knife. This is actually like a pruning knife. It's like a folder. I can show you that there. It folds up nice, fits nice in your pocket, fits nice in your hand. Stainless steel, holds a good edge. The only thing I don't like about it, it cuts like crazy. It's good for taking bark off trees if you're going to make a any kind of bark work. The thing I don't like is if you're doing any kind of preparing food or anything, it doesn't chop good because it's more of a the way the curved blade is. Some small pocket knives, a little tiny Swiss Army knife. Here's a good two-bladed carbon steel. You don't find it very hard. I don't think you even make carbon steel pocket knives anymore. Okay, here is the baby of the Mora family. Here, this is actually a little tiny Mora. Fits in my hand. I took the finger guard off, but this is the knife, this standard knife. It comes in a little leather sheath here. Let's see, this is the knife that they issue to all the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts here in Norway. This is the standard knife for the Cubs, you know, the Boy Scouts and stuff. Alright, now this is number one of my favorite all-time bushcraft knife because, first of all, it's a I forget the name right now. It's a clipper model Mora knife, and the plastic handle I took off. The middle part was like a rubberized, and I wrapped rawhide around it, and then I glued the end of it in place, and it has a really good rough grip, very good. It's good if my hands are wet. Even though this is stainless steel, it's very easy to sharpen, and it just fits so good in my hand. And then I have a sheath, and put it in the sheath here, which I made out of an old knife sheath I had here. Okay, and I made a little pouch. I have a fire steel in there and a few other things. It can go as a neck knife or hang on my side. But this is one of my number one bushcraft knife. This knife will get me through any situation. Okay, and then my number two bushcraft knife, again, I will take this anywhere here. This is my Swiss Army knife. This is it's the model that's not too big and not too small. It fits nice in my hand. It's got the saw, scissors, small blade, which I use exclusively for the fire steel. Blade works fine. It doesn't. You can do it 50 times before you have to sharpen it. That's a myth. People say, "Oh, don't ever use the blade." It's a myth. You get much better sparks with the blade than you do with the back side. It's got the tweezer. See the tweezers on that side. This is a knife you cannot go wrong. And this is a good quality steel. It's stainless steel, but it holds an edge. You have to regrind it from the original, but you can make a nice edge on it, and it'll stay. Okay, this is my number one bushcraft knife right here. And my number two is my remodified Mora clipper. Okay, and I'll start using them in upcoming videos so you can see them in action. As you can see here, this was an eye-opening experience to actually dig out all my knives. I had them in many different places and lay them all out, and then it's like, whoa. And it looks like a lot, and I like collecting knives, but I'm pretty much finished collecting knives because, and I didn't spend a lot of money on any of these knives. For example, the most expensive, potentially the most expensive, was this vintage K-bar, but I only paid like six bucks at a tag sale. The guy was just throwing it out. I made my own sheath, which is just a piece of leather doubled over at the bottom, and I use pop rivets to put it together, and it works fine. More than enough. And Moras in Norway, anyways, they're not more than like 7 or 8, 6, 7 bucks for more. So it's a lot of knives, but didn't cost a lot of money. But it's more of a learning experience now. I pretty much know that any knife I ever purchase will either be will have to have a Scandi grind. That's an absolute. Moras always come with a Scandi grind, straight bevel right down, and it's the only knife for me. So if I change knives, it'll have to have at least a Scandi grind and go from there. But you can't go wrong with a Swiss Army knife, and you can't go wrong with a Mora clipper. I don't have the original sheath for this, but I have another Mora clipper somewhere. I can't find it. So anyways, now this was I was tagged. Now I'm supposed to tag 3 other people, so I'm going to tag, and I'll write the names at the bottom in the description. First, I want to tag TrapperJacksurvival. Every once in a while I see him. He uses a lot of stone knives and whatnot, which I love, but every once in a while I see him whip out a knife, and very quickly, but I can't seem to identify it. I stop the frame, I try to look at it, I can't see it. what it is. I like it, whatever it is. It's a sheath knife of some sort. So TrapperJacksurvival, and the other one is Notracesurvival. I love his vids. I just haven't never seen his knife work in action. I'm curious as to what he takes out in the woods. And the other gentleman I'd like to do is Phreshayr. He's a guy up in Alaska, and he has some really excellent videos. Beautiful country, and I know he uses a Mora, and I just like to see his if he has more than one type he uses and whatnot. So those are my three. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this little video here. Each one of these knives, I have so much sentimental value. They all have, I got them at different times. And just one last thing, for example, this knife here, my very first knife I ever bought when I was 18 years old. It's got a real bone handle. It's aluminum. It's a carbon steel type knife. It holds a decent edge. It's my very first knife. The sheath is a piece of junk now. It's all worn, but I'm going to retool it and make a new one. So everything has sentimental values here. Here's a knife that I use if I'm going to go skin diving in the ocean. It's a dive knife. It holds a decent edge. It's got this serration on the back, which I don't like, but it's a solid knife. You can bang on here, and you can pry things up. It's a good solid knife. It's just not a bushcraft knife. So, alright, thank you for watching. I gotta go.